This is quite unbelievable really, but just as you buy a service such as Office 365, ransomware is actually operated on the dark web, and for a one-off payment of $175 you can get access to the Carmen ransomware, which really it's quite scary because this just goes to show you don't need to be an expert to get ransomware. There are people out there that have made it and sell it as a service because they're also making a profit here. Today we're going to talk about ransomware, specifically what is ransomware, how do ransomware attacks start and actually get into businesses, and how you can protect your business from ransomware attacks. So what is ransomware? I'm sure you've heard of it. It receives a lot of media attention, probably more so than any other type of cyber attack. This is mainly down to the large cost and impact it has to businesses. If you look at the 2017 attacks against the NHS and businesses such as Maersk, this received massive coverage because of the huge impact it had. So it's growing rapidly as a cyber attack type. Some sources reported that in 2016-2017, growth saw as much as 800%. And this is because it's such a profitable attack for the hackers and cyber attackers. Again, sources are reporting that it makes as much as $1 billion to $2 billion US dollars globally on a yearly basis. The first ransomware was actually seen in 1989 and it was called the AIDS Trojan. So it's not as new as you would think. The principle was very much the same as it is now. We're going to make your files inaccessible and then you're going to pay us to get access back to them. So there's two main types of ransomware that we see today. The first type encrypts files and folders. The second type encrypts the entire PC. What encryption means is that it makes those files and folders inaccessible, and if you want to get access back to them, you need to decrypt them. So the second stage of a ransomware attack is where they demand a ransom. They want a payment, and it's generally in a cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin to help the attacker remain anonymous. But once you've paid that ransom, or they hope you pay that ransom, they will then give you a decryption key and you can use that key to get your data back. In some cases though, they don't even give you the decryption key and your data is gone for good. So if we look at this particular example, this is a variant called Carmen. So Carmen is a ransomware. And this is typically the type of message that you would get and you would see when you've been infected by ransomware. It's telling you that your data is encrypted and it's demanding a payment. So we know what ransomware looks like. We're now going to talk about how do ransomware attacks start and actually get into your business. So if we look at this example here, this relates to the Carmen ransomware that we just showed you, but Carmen is ransomware as a service. And what you can see here is the actual dashboard, which would be accessible via a website. You just browse to a website and log into your Carmen user account, and in here you can actually set up your ransomware. So on here we can see for this particular instance that they've set the ransomware so that the ransom fee is $1,284 to release the data, to give you that decryption key. We can see how many clients they've infected, how many payments they've received and how much they've earned. So an attacker's paid the $175, they've got this service, they've got the ransomware and it's ready to go. How do they then actually go and get it into your business? So like other types of cyber attacks, the most common ways of getting ransomware into a business is generally phishing emails. So you might receive an email with a link to a malicious website that downloads this ransomware. It might be an attachment on an email, so often we see Word documents. You open that Word document and then it goes away and does something in the background, and that might be downloading the ransomware or installing and running the ransomware. The other thing to note is that ransomware doesn't always run immediately either. It might be timed, so it might run on a certain date, it might run after a certain period of time has passed. So you don't always know that you've been infected from the off. It might be sat there lying dormant. Also, ransomware can be distributed through vulnerable computer networks. So how do you protect your business from ransomware? As with any type of cybersecurity, defense in depth and a multi-layered approach is best. So we have multiple controls in order to protect your business, and that includes technology, people, and processes. So I'll give you 6 top tips that will help to protect your business from ransomware and recover in the worst case scenario. So tip number 1, Always ensure that your computers are kept up to date, and that includes your operating system, such as Windows and Mac, and your applications, so Adobe Reader, Microsoft Office. One of the reasons that previous attacks had such an impact was because the computers were often out of date, particularly in the NHS scenario. They were running out of date software, and if it had been up to date, the attack would have had less of an impact. Tip number 2 is email protection. One of the most common entry points for ransomware is through phishing emails. So it's important that you've got phishing, email protection and email protection in place that will filter out emails, it'll look at attachments and check whether they're malicious. It's not going to catch everything, but it's another layer in the equation to hopefully filter out the vast majority of threats that will come through to you via email. Tip number 3, web protection and web filtering. Are you letting your staff browse to any website, or are you controlling what they can see? Are you scanning the content of websites that your staff visit and so on? Because that is the second most common way that ransomware gets into businesses. If you browse to a malicious website accidentally and it installs software, it might do what's called a drive-by download and force a download of the ransomware, or a member of staff might actually just click download and run something without knowing it's malicious. So that is an important part of the overall protection. Tip number 4, user training. It's important to make sure that your users are aware of the signs to look out for things such as phishing emails and malicious websites, the two main places that ransomware attacks are delivered. It could be the difference between your user being tricked into opening an attachment, running ransomware and encrypting the data across all the computers in your office. This is really a key part of the protection, and one that's very, very important and often overlooked. Tip 5, backups. Always back up your data. I would recommend backing up off-site, maybe to a cloud service such as Acronis. But backup is important because if you do get a ransomware variant that comes through and manages to encrypt your data, you're going to need to restore that data from backup. So backup is very, very important, but hopefully you won't have to use it because you'll have used the other steps and you won't have let that ransomware got through. Tip number 6, this is more of an advanced method, but it's still a very important one. Advanced endpoint protection. This is software that can effectively block ransomware from running, and in the event that it does run, it can actually roll back the encryption so it can bring your files back to a state as they were before the ransomware run, effectively saving your data. Defense against cyber attacks is more important than ever. Click the link below to bolster your defenses against cybercrime.